Another win at home for the Sabres. Another win for James Reimer. Should the Sabres bring Reimer back next year? Does it feel like they have to as he continues to be amazing down the stretch? We'll get into that and lots more coming up on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into this Wednesday edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including our YouTube channel where you can watch the show, like and subscribe us there. You can hit us up on our text club. If you're not already a texter, you can go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Sneaky Joe DiBiase, a day following the Sabres with another win. They have a 5-game win streak rolling. They have a 7-game win streak at home rolling, where they continue to be awesome. First time in 9 years that the Sabres have won the season series against the Carolina Hurricanes with a 3-0 win. Some takeaways out of this game, especially in goal. A little bit more on Tage Thompson today, who is, again, chasing down 50 goals. He needs 6 more in his final 5 games. He scored again last night, a beautiful goal. And there's a lot more to get to on today's show. I really want to get into the Sabres offensively and how real their torrid scoring streak is and what some of the other numbers that are sitting there right behind the goal totals are, and why I'm here to defend the Sabres having a high amount of goals without having the best advanced numbers behind it. And I think one big reason is the way we're seeing them score goals that has been so impressive that makes it feel a little bit more real. So that's coming up on today's show as well. At Locked On Sabres, you want to follow the podcast on Twitter, at Sneaky Joe on Blue Sky if you're looking for me there. Get a little bit of Sabres talk there. And if you do follow me on Blue Sky or on Twitter, you try to post the same stuff. Or a text club. Text club, we got a little bit more into this. In fact, this was sparked by one of our texters who tweeted in or texted in about the Sabres offensively and their goal totals, where they sit. Again, we'll get into more into this in a little bit. That the Sabres, who are 7th right now in the NHL in goals, are one of only 4 teams in the last 5 years to be top 10 in scoring and miss the playoffs. And they're 2 of them. 3rd 2 years ago and 7th this year. So we're talking a little bit about that, but you can check that out on our text club, or I'll get into it in a little bit. More context, though, to the Sabres and their scoring. They've been scoring amazing as of late. 3-0 last night. Get into the goaltending part of this story, but the Sabres, this is one of those games where they kind of got run over on the shots and run over on a lot of the other categories of the game. But I thought they came out firing. I thought first period, they didn't score, but they easily could have. I mean, Ryan McLeod should have had 2 goals in this game. He had 2 glorious opportunities. One where he goes in on a breakaway, forehand, backhand. He just had to hold on to it for a little bit longer because Kochetkov completely overshot it. If he holds on to it a split second longer, reads where the goalie is, he's going to tuck that puck right in. But instead, he did not assume that Kochetkov would be so out of position, so he went for 5-hole. But the problem was 5-hole in that moment was he's laying on the ice. There is no 5-hole because you've deked him out so badly, but McLeod didn't realize it. And then the other one, he pulls it to his backhand after Kochetkov comes way out of the net to poke check. He goes around him. He's got the whole net backhand, and he's got a little bit of a tight angle, and he wasn't able to finish. So the Sabres could have had a couple of goals in that first period pretty easily. They did get going, though, with the actual goal scoring in the second and the third. And what a goal it was by Tage Thompson. What a goal. The set play off the faceoff. McLeod is like a football play. Ryan McLeod is the center, snaps it back to the quarterback. He has to win the draw, and he does. Quarterback in this outcome would be Bo Byram, who grabs the puck after McLeod won it cleanly. And right off the draw, Alex Tuch goes deep. Like a speed receiver down the field. He just goes. And Byram has to make the pass very quick. He does, puts it right on Tuch's tape, who is flying. It's like a downfield pass in football. He's behind the defenseman, and then he makes the play with Brent Burns on his back, by the way, not a small individual. He's able to finish it. And then the Jack Quinn to JJ Peterka 2-on-1 goal is a nice one as well. Again, this is part of the point I want to get into in the second segment about their goal scoring. But I want to start today's show with goaltending. James Reimer gets the shutout, and he has been awesome for a month at least now. That is his first shutout of the season for the Buffalo Sabres. It is his 7th consecutive win, the longest win streak of his career, which extends all the way back to 2010. And he had to be good. He had to be sharp. He had one incredible save in the second period where he goes right to left in his crease to make a big save on Sebastian Aho, who had a lot of the net to shoot at, and Reimer got over to take away the space. He is very... What impresses me about Reimer is he's big, so he takes up a lot of space. Oh, he's not huge. He's 6'3", so it's not like he's Lukin in size. He's so composed with rebounds. That's one thing I notice about Reimer's game is he's never frazzled. He never is searching for the puck. He knows he has the feel of it, right? And he's played long enough in the NHL that it's muscle memory to him that if a puck hits him at a certain angle in the shoulder, he like kind of knows, feels like he knows where the puck's going to lay down before it's even hit the ice. And he just puts his paw right on it, and he's not giving up a lot of second chance opportunities that some goalies might. So I think that's one area that Reimer's looked really good, but he's making saves. And all the numbers are spectacular. 910 save percentage on the year, a 9-6-2 record. He actually deserves a better record for how good the numbers have been for him. Goals saved above expected, top 10 goalie in the league if you go by 60 minutes. The total, I mean, there's only one goalie in the league that has played fewer than 20 games that has a better goal saved above expected. So if you're looking at the true backups in the NHL, there's only one guy that is ahead of him. So it's been a great year for Reimer. It's been a great stretch. And I heard Alex Tuch on postgame yesterday when talking about Reimer kind of jokingly go, I think Reimer maybe was in the background. He goes, oh, maybe he wants to stick around one more year. And that's something we've got into a lot. But let's get into it even more about Reimer, and do the Sabres have to keep him next year? Because right now, as they're winning these games and they're playing so well, there are two key components to why the Sabres are winning hockey games right now. Number one is how much they're scoring. Most goals in the NHL in their last 9 games. Number two is they're getting saves. And that's the thing that has not been happening all year long. This consistently. And now it is with Reimer in goal. They're getting saves. And you get those two things, you're going to be almost unbeatable. Because some nights you're going to explode offensively, and then other nights, like last night, 3 goals is good, but they didn't go nuts. On a night like that, you need to have good goaltending. And Reimer gave it to them. Shutout. And he's given it to them over and over and over again. So that's the thing we're hoping and we're talking about and debating. How meaningful are these final games for the Buffalo Sabres, and can they carry into next year? That's what everybody hopes. It's what everybody wants. One of those two key components is an individual that doesn't seem likely to be back next year. And I kind of want to get less into what I think will happen, because I think I've shared that on this podcast, that I can very well see them bringing him back on a 1-year deal, training camp competition. What should they do? What should the Buffalo Sabres do in goal when it comes to James Reimer and the combination that they're going into next year with? Because I think there are a bunch of different options for what their goalie tandem could be. It could be Luukkonen and Reimer. It could be Luukkonen and Levi. It could be, Luukkonen and another player. That's a possibility. It could be Levi and Reimer, but I think that's a lot less likely as them being your 1-2 in whatever order you want. And then there is the possibility of someone that's not Luukkonen with Levi. And a lot of those combinations do not include James Reimer. And that to me is probably where I would go. I would want to find somebody, because I see the value of what Reimer is doing right now, and it shows what they need, what they've needed all year. They need saves to be one of the consistent elements of this team. It's not, though, about Reimer as much. Well, it is. It's not a question of how well is he playing right now, and do you want this level of play? Of course, if I knew James Reimer would play like this all next year, I'd sign him in a heartbeat. It's figuring out how likely James Reimer is to play like this all of next year, which will be his age 37 season. And for me, I think that there is a strong possibility you do not get it. And on top of that, if you do get it, how much can you rely on him to play throughout the year without him getting burnt out at that age? How much workload can he really take? I would want a guy that's at least a little bit younger. And there are big ideas. There are small ideas. Free agency is more of a small idea because there are not many names. I want to get into a couple of examples, though. And by the way, one of the smaller idea that could make sense, someone texted me about this guy today. Earlier, I said there's one guy, kind of consistent backup this year, that's played fewer than 20 games with better numbers than Reimer. There's only one. It's Frederik Andersen of the Carolina Hurricanes, who has not had a sub 900 save percentage, by the way, in 4 years. His last season in Toronto, and it is the only season of Frederik Andersen's career in 12 years that he has had below a 900 save percentage, which is about league average in today's NHL. Now, to Reimer's credit, Reimer's only had one of those seasons also. That was 2 years ago with the San Jose Sharks. He had an 890. So you have similar players, I think, both former Toronto goalies. One, though, is 2 years younger. Andersen right now 35 and Reimer 37. You're just getting 2 years younger to me for this similar type of player. So I'd rather do that. More than that, though, here's the point I really want to make today on the show. I want to hammer home. The Ottawa Senators made the playoffs last night. Ottawa, because this is to me about what do you want to do in net. Ottawa made the playoffs last night for the first time in 8 years. They end their long playoff drought. Not as long as the Sabres, but they end their long drought. And the thing that I credit most for Ottawa getting there is they figured out goaltender. And good for them that they were aggressive about it. And it's a very similar spot to where the Sabres will be this summer. And I don't have a lot of confidence the Sabres will act the exact same way. But here's what Ottawa did. 2 summers ago, July 1st, 2023, the Ottawa Senators, who had taken steps in the right direction, had missed on Matt Murray. They had planned on him being their starting goalie, and it hadn't worked. So now they're back in the goalie market. And they're desperate to end their drought. So what do? They go out and they get one of the top goalies on the market, a guy that's been very rocky in his career, but was coming off a strong year. That is Joonas Korpisalo. Former Blue Jackets goalie. He had played the Kings most recently. And was coming off, again, a strong year. And the Ottawa Senators gave Korpisalo a 5-year deal for $20 million. $4 million per year. 5-year commitment, $20 million. And after one poor year, they started him 49 games last season, and it did not go well. He was bad all year long. They decided, after 1 year, they admitted to themselves, we made a mistake. We need to do better than this. We need to fix it. They trade Korpisalo 1 year into that commitment, along with a first-round pick, a premium asset, to go fix their net. They gave those two and then a prospect to Boston for Linus Ullmark. Let's go fix the goaltending situation. Let's go get a guy that won the Vezina a couple of years ago, and let's do it right. And not worry about admitting to ourselves, yeah, we messed up. Instead, fixing the mistake right away. And they did it, And it worked. And it's, to me, the biggest reason why they've clinched already. It's official. They're going to the postseason. To the Sabres, as I mentioned, Korpisalo signed 5 years, $20 million. You know a guy that signed a very, very similar contract? Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. 5 years, $23.5 million. Just a margin above Korpisalo on a per-year basis. 1 year into that contract, if the Sabres were to play copycat here and do exactly what Ottawa did 1 year ago, would Kevin Adams, or if someone else is going to be their GM, I saw Ryan Miller on the broadcast yesterday talking to Terry Pagula, but assuming it's Kevin Adams, the equivalent would be he goes out this summer and says, I'm not waiting around anymore. I'm not going to play this conservative. I'm going to call around the league and try to package Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen along with a first-round pick, and I'm going to go find my Linus Ullmark equivalent. The same move Ottawa made, but with a different guy. Now, this is something that I want to get into a little bit more after the season, breaking it down thoroughly. But there are a couple of names that could be potential options on that front. I had someone message me about Thatcher Demko for this. And you know me, if you know me over the last couple of years on this podcast, anytime goalie trade comes up, I always like the idea of Thatcher Demko. I've wanted him on this team for years. He, by the way, has not had a strong year at all. So you might feel like you can get your hands on him right now. John Gibson is somebody that was thrown my way as a possible signing. UC Saros was another guy that was named for this. And I wouldn't worry about Levi. Levi, I trust still is going to become the number one, but I can handle that. In 3 years' time, 2-3 years' time, I can trade my veteran away and then give the net to Levi. I don't want to be held hostage by the perceived, and I perceive it, the perceived incoming talent that is Devin Levi, that he will someday take over the net. I don't want to wait around for that day. When that day arrives, awesome, I'll give him the net, and then I'll figure out where I'm at. But I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket. That Levi's first full season is going to be next year. It might not be next year. It might be 2 years from now. It could be 3 years from now. And I don't want to play the waiting game if I'm Kevin Adams. I want to go get it done. And Saros is a great idea for this. Demko's a great idea for this. Gibson, all have had poor seasons, by the way. But they're better goalies throughout their careers than Luukkonen has been, and that to me is where I'd want to put my chips, on a more established veteran goalie that's done it before. And Saros, I think, would be number one for that. Demko's a good one too. Those are all ideas I want to get more into, though, after the season. So all this to say, though, these are the ideas I want the Sabres to be chasing. I don't think just going status quo and bringing back James Reimer is enough. They got to fix the net, and I don't think just hoping that the 37-year-old can come back and do it again is enough when you have to make the playoffs next season. When we come back, how trustworthy is the Sabres offense as of late? They're scoring a lot of goals, but what do the other numbers say about them scoring and how the goals have looked? That coming back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios, one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving is 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. It's a great golf snack, I have to say. It's just throw a bag in your golf bag, and it's a nice, healthy snack to have for a little refuel during the middle of your round. And definitely better than just bringing, chips out or whatever. Wonderful Pistachios, the protein, you're much healthier option for a salty snack when you're craving it. I like the no shells variety, but if you're someone that likes the shells, me like cracking into them, those are available to you too. So get snacking, get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com today to learn more. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Sabres went 3-0 over the Carolina Hurricanes, and this torrid stretch they've had offensively continues. Tage Thompson leading the way. Since March 23rd, the last 9 games of the Sabres season, they are the highest scoring team in the league, and they are by a pretty wide margin. I want to ask, how real is it? How much do we trust it? And how much do we think it will carry into next season? Well, I do like what I'm seeing. And that is beside the fact that the numbers don't always look great below the surface, just one step below the goal total. I'll go through the numbers and I'll tell you why they're worth keeping an eye on, but I'm still feeling really strong and feeling good about what the Sabres have done since March 23rd. That's the last 9 games that they've won. They've won 8 of the last 9. This is the real top streak that they've had is starting on March 23rd. Since that date, and comparing it, by the way, to the first 68 games of the season. Last 9 games where the Sabres have won 8. They're first in the NHL in goals. That is compared to 17th in the first 68 games. Expected goals, they went from 22nd in the first 68 to 29th in the last 9. Shot attempts in the last 9, they're 28th. Shots, they're 23rd. Power play percentage, they're 17th, compared to the first 68 games where they were 22nd in expected goals, 17th in shot attempts, 21st in shots, and 26th in power play. So just got to boil this all down, though, by their league ranks. First in goals in the last 9 games, 29th in expected goals, 28th in shot attempts, 23rd in shots. Now, the power play's gotten a little bit better, and that helps. But all those 5-on-5 numbers are near the bottom of the league. And yet, they scored more goals than anybody. Now, what you could do, and I would not have any big problem with somebody that had this take of, well, you know what that means? That means they're getting lucky. That means that this is fool's gold. The Sabres are scoring a lot of goals, but you can't trust it, and you shouldn't bank on it going into next year. I understand that wholeheartedly because, listen, you want to score goals like this over a whole season. You got to have more scoring chances than they've had. You got to have more shots. You got to have more shot attempts. But the thing that has me optimistic is how they're scoring them. These are not shots that are going in on aloof wrist shots from the point that are going off a guy's knee and getting into the back of the net. These are not a lot of, terrible rebound goals that somebody is kicking in by accident. And these are not garbage goals the Sabres are scoring. They're scoring highlight reel goals on a nightly basis. And they're especially getting the better numbers advanced from their top lines. Look at the goals last night. The goal Tage scores, that is Jacob Slavin that he's going one-on-one with, where he just waits for Slavin to poke check, and the second he does, toe drag around him, wrist shot home by Tage Thompson. A beautiful goal, and it's like his 6th most impressive goal in the last week. The goal that Peterka scores, just a 2-on-1 opportunity where you've got a good goal scorer that is grabbing a one-timer, and he's burying it. And Alex Tuch, who he scored some deflection goals recently, but this one is breakaway, big defenseman on your back, backhand, forehand, slip it under the pad. These are nice goals. These are skilled goals that the Sabres are scoring. And I think the nature of them and the fact that they're not these lucky goals that they keep finding go off themselves or off a defenseman or whatever, that has me feeling like this could be a little bit more real and that, maybe there's probably a middle ground on both ends. That at the beginning of next year, you could probably expect the Sabres aren't going to be number 1 in the league in goals, but because of the talent they have, I also would like to believe that they're not going to be 29th in the NHL in expected goals, 28th in shot attempts, and so on and so forth. Again, part of the reason why I might think that is the first 68 games, they were better in those categories. They were great. I mean, it's 22nd and 17th instead of 29th and 28th, but that is better. That's where I think it's a good debate, that the Sabres have been getting a lot of finishing recently. They've been scoring on their limited opportunities, but I'm seeing a lot of skill on display right now that has me feeling confident going into next year. So let me know what you think on that. I don't think it's the easiest question to answer, but it's all kind of under the umbrella of what are we seeing recently as they're winning and what can we take from it to carry into next year. It's kind of the theme of everything with this team right now. Now, there's one other thing I want to get to before we wrap things up. When we come back, Pierre LeBrun got my gears grinding today when he wrote about the Olympics next year, something that we've talked a lot about on this show during the Four Nations. Tage Thompson's case for the Olympics and why what he's doing right now is meaningful beyond the Sabres, because I'd like to believe USA Hockey is watching. I want to get to that when we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Do you have trouble sleeping? If so, you're not alone. That used to be me, lacking rest, tossing and turning. I was late for meetings. I never felt like myself. That's until I found Bare Mattress. Bare Mattress and their sleep recovery technology helped me fall asleep faster, as well as enjoy deeper sleeps. I felt like myself again, and you can too. Bare Mattress knows that every sleeper is different. That's why they have their sleep quiz on their website that finds you your perfect match. As a side sleeper, I matched with the Elite Hybrid mattress, and I've been telling everyone in my life they have to try Bare Mattress risk-free. You can sleep on your Bare Mattress up to 120 nights, and if you're not getting the best sleep of your life, you can get it refunded. They'll pick it up with absolutely no hassle. So go to bearmattress.com and use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
All right, back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Sabres win 3-0 over Carolina. Next up tomorrow against Columbus at 7:30. As Tage Thompson scores goals. I don't think Sabre fans are the only ones that are watching right now. At least I hope not. And I've levied this criticism against Bill Guerin, who is the GM of USA Hockey for the Four Nations. And I just don't feel like he watched the league enough. Honestly, I don't think he took the job seriously enough when he put Chris Kreider, Vinny Trocheck, and Brock Nelson on his team. You're not watching the league this year if you get to a place where especially Kreider and Trocheck are on your teams, because they've had horrible years, not just offensively, but defensively. So Thompson, he doesn't make Team USA. He gets called up the day of the championship, but it was only in an emergency. He doesn't end up playing. And a lot of people, not just me and not just here in Buffalo, felt that he should have been on the team. In fact, the reason we're talking about this today is Pierre LeBrun of The Athletic wrote about it. And in his article, he wrote, I believed, speaking as Pierre here, I believed that he should have been on the Four Nations roster. And he had Thompson listed as his number one player that wasn't on Team USA that should make the roster for next year, or that is worth watching to make the roster for next season. Now, a couple of things that he points out that we knew about the Olympics that's true. There's one more roster spot for the Olympics. You get an expanded roster. There's an extra forward spot available, more notably. I think it's one forward and one defenseman spot, but one forward spot extra than what you got at the Four Nations because of injuries and whatnot. So what Pierre kind of breaks down, and I agree with most of this, is you're going to have some change and you're going to have somebody extra just inevitably because you have an extra roster spot. And who's that guy going to be and what mistakes are going to be corrected? Now, one thing I don't like about what Pierre writes in here is he writes, Brock Nelson and Vincent Trocheck are not locks by any means, but I know Team USA management really values what those two guys bring. By the way, timeout in that quote. He's got to be talking about Chris Drury. He's got to be talking about Chris Drury, especially with Trocheck. If Drury is still involved, I mean, he might not be the Rangers GM anymore at that point. Pierre writes, if they were picking the Olympic team today, I think both would be on the team again. I think it's a giant mistake. I can't believe it. But honestly, even if Brock Nelson and Vincent Trocheck make Team USA next year, there is still a good path and a likelihood to me that Tage will make the roster. And I think what he's doing right now is really helping to cement that. He was probably already really close to making the Four Nations team. And if you remember, he didn't play all the games before that. He was hurt when the roster was decided. And That to me might be the biggest thing that needs to happen between now and then. He's playing great, and I think his play speaks for itself. He is now alone number one in the NHL in even strength goals. He's got 44 on the season. Everything play-wise is going well for Tage Thompson, but he has dealt with injuries almost every year of his career. So staying healthy between now and next winter and spring, when the roster is decided, to me is pivotal for him to be on the roster. But he does list Tage number one. Now, what Pierre also writes is Chris Kreider's not going to make the team again next year. Like that's almost definitely not going to happen. So you have 2 forward spots available for Team USA. Who's Tage Thompson's competition to be on Team USA next year? You'd have to have 2 guys beat him out between now and then to not be on the team at all. And the guys that Pierre lists, Clayton Keller, Utah, Jason Robertson, Dallas, Cole Caulfield, Montreal, and Matthew Nyes, Toronto. Now, that one's a long shot. He even writes that. I don't think Matthew Nyes makes the team. I think it's more about Caulfield, and then it's Keller and Robertson. I would rank Caulfield higher than Pierre did. I think Caulfield is a very good shot to make the team next year. Keller, to me as well. I think Robertson, to me, would be the one guy right there that I don't think has a strong chance of beating out Tage Thompson. He's had a good year. He's not going to get to 100 points like he did 2 years ago. But all those guys are worthy. All those guys are worthy of making Team USA. That's where they all can't make it. And they all probably should. They're all great players. And this is where Trocheck and Nelson, what you value in those two, I know what they think they value. It's defense, and it's big game experience, and it's guys that could play on the bottom of your lineup. But again, this was the point I made about Trocheck early in the year. He's not having a good defensive season. There's nothing, no one in the Rangers is telling you that. I guess maybe they would. The numbers don't say that he's having a great defensive season. Updating his evolving hockey page, Vinny Trocheck on the year is in the 13th percentile defensively for what he gives up when he's on the ice. I mean, he's been horrendous all year long. I think you can't have Trocheck on the team next year. I think Thompson needs to be an automatic. And then I think you got to find your way to getting 2 of the 3 between Keller, Robertson, and Caulfield. And to me, you can't have Brock Nelson on the team either, if that's going to be true. So I know you say, oh, you can't make an all-star lineup. I don't really think I'm making an all-star lineup. I really, truly believe that right now, Tage Thompson is a better defensive player and will make a stronger impact on that front than either Vinny Trocheck or Brock Nelson. And a big reason why for that is he's going to have the puck a lot of the time. I mean, I think he also probably is going to be, better defensively when he doesn't. The reach that he has, he's developed in that way a little bit over time, but he's going to have the puck more often. And that to me is just somewhere that the game of hockey still has not grown a lot. That too much value is placed on your ability in your own zone rather than your ability to not be in your own zone. To me, one of those two things is way more valuable than the other. The guy that's never in his own end is far more valuable defensively than the guy that is good in his own end, but he's always in his own end. And hockey doesn't treat it that way. And Team USA definitely doesn't treat it that way. And that's why you had Vinny Trocheck, Brock Nelson, and Chris Kreider, more so the first 2 on the USA roster. Thompson, by the way, while I'm on Evolving Hockey, as we'll wrap things up here on Locked On Sabres. If you're watching on YouTube, get ready for the chart that I'm about to show you on how Thompson's numbers are looking, goals above replacement on the season at Evolving Hockey. Tage Thompson he's a superstar. He is a definitive superstar. He is in the 99th percentile offensively. Look at that. Now, he has actually dropped defensively. I think around 4 Nations time, he was in the 50th percentile, 60th percentile defensively, goals above replacement. Right now, he's in the 37th. Still triple as good as Trocheck. Look at that 99th percentile. Look at that bar for even strength offense. I mean, he's arguably a top. What's the number here? What's the right number? Top 10? Top 5? Can I get away with top 5 best offensive player in the sport of hockey right now? Maybe top 10 is a little bit better. But hey, this chart would tell you he is top 5, maybe even top 1. So Thompson on Team USA, to me, it's got to happen. It has to happen, and it'll be the crime of the century if he's not on that team. But again, Thompson's got to do one thing himself. He's got to stay healthy. All right, Columbus tomorrow. And Ottawa's in the playoffs. Montreal eliminating the Sabres. I did not forget on today's show that the Sabres were officially eliminated from playoff contention and that the drought has reached number 14. Get a little bit more of that on the as the week goes on when we're a couple days removed from a win. So that'll be coming up later in the week. I still got to get that Zach Benson breakdown, but I wanted to get some goaltending stuff in today. If you're looking for talk about Montreal making it, or getting close to making it, Ottawa making it, and the playoff races down the stretch, be sure to check out Locked On NHL. They're available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube as well. So check out Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion's crowned. Get your local analysis on a national scale. We'll talk to you tomorrow here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.